What is going on, guys? What's going on, Rhythm? What's going on, Derrick? Excited for this slate. I'm somewhat concerned with Paul George playing, though. There's no reason for him to play. But I kind of get the feeling that there's a chance. Dig the write-ups, man. Yeah, I mean, I hope for you guys members that are in here, I hope you guys enjoyed those. I'm going to be doing that every single day, especially moving forward with the new site and how we're slowly evolving and stuff. With our product mostly. Going to be doing a lot of that stuff moving forward. What's going on, Brendan? Towns over Westbrook? Yeah, it's really, really close. I just slightly prefer Towns today just because he is a bit cheaper on but I'm trying to rethink things. So after this live stream, I'm going to go dig back in and with the roster construction and stuff. Why is the mic quality on this garbage? Yeah, I don't know. I'm using the same exact mic. I don't know why it's poor. And I have like the best internet you can get, so confused as to why it would be bad. But yeah, with Cat being cheaper on DraftKings, I slightly prefer him. But if you win Westbrook, obviously I don't blame you. I think he's due for some good positive regression. But what was I gonna say? But with Klay Thompson out now, I think Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry are definitely worth cash plays. They're amazing plays, and they're a lot cheaper. I think 9,000 for Stephen Curry against the Celtics is entirely too cheap. They garnered the highest team total on the slate. Cool with the Simmons and Vucevic build in tournament. Yeah, in tournament that's great. I wrote up Simmons. I was going to write up Vucevic. I still think he's a great play. I might as well just add him to the lock sheet as a GPP play, but yeah, I like him quite a bit as a small game stack right there. I just don't like him as much just because Kevin Durant and Steph Curry are right there, but that's only going to lower the ownership of Vucevic. Horford, yeah, I don't mind Horford. I mean, he's performed well in this matchup before. But I just tend to like guys like Steven Adams for a bit cheaper, or Draymond Green, who's going to be the chalk of the chalk at 5.6K? Yeah. Yeah, guys, you enjoy these? Want me to keep coming back every day, Monday through Friday? Drop a like. Vucevic and Towns for DK, I don't mind it at all. Is Jeremy Grant a bad play? Why would it be a bad play? Did I miss something? I don't think so. Does Miles Turner bounce back today on FanDuel? Gasol looks like a nice play as well. I mean, yeah, if Gasol continues to get the start, yeah, I think he's a pretty solid play. But with Miles Turner, I think he's due to positively regress on the season, averaging 1.13 fantasy points per minute with Oladipo off the court. As of recent, he's only been averaging 0.86 fantasy points per minute. So with Sabonis out, his minutes are pretty much solidified from the 30 to 32 minute range, barring foul trouble or a blowout. So if the game stays close, Miles Turner could be an amazing play. And he's a really good pivot off of guys like Draymond Green and Steven Adams, who I expect to be fairly popular today. I like Grant today. Yeah, I love Grant. Did you guys get notifications when I went live? Cat in his last 4 games against Steven Adams and the Thunder, Towns has scored 33, 39, 40, and 40. Does this worry you? No, I mean, actually, Steven Adams has been pretty poor defensively over the last couple of games, and kind of gets beat up by guys like Cat, who has a jump shot. You saw against Nikola Jokic, they ended up benching him down the stretch for Nerlens Noel before Noel fouled out. I could see that being the case today. I could see that hurting him. But hurting Steven Adams at least. But with Cat over the past here, I'll bring up what I wrote up earlier on Cat. Yeah, he's been averaging 1.67 fantasy points per minute over the past month, 1.64 fantasy points per minute with Jeff Teague next to him. Just putting in context because Teague missed 4 games over the past month. He's just been playing a lot better as of late. His usage rate is way up. And Derrick Rose, ever since Saunders became the coach, Derrick Rose has been limited to 22, 24 minutes and no longer plays point guard. So when he's out there, he's not handling the ball. He's almost purely a shooter, which ups the assist percentage of Karl Anthony Towns. There's a lot of pluses for Karl Anthony Towns, especially with the Thunder being the 3rd fastest team in the league and one of the bottom teams in terms of defensive rating over the past couple of months. On the season, they're great, but over the past couple of months, they've been pretty bad. And with Paul George off the court, who's like, if not one of the best centers, the best center or defender in the league, replacing him with Dennis Schroeder, who through his career has just been god awful defensively. I just love everyone on the Timberwolves and Towns especially. Who's your favorite star to pair with Cat tonight? It's probably Steph Curry at this point with Klay Thompson out. Yeah, on FanDuel, it makes it really easy because I remember when Klay was out last game, we just played Steph Curry and KD. They didn't perform really all that well, but they're so cheap comparative to their spot and who they are. I don't mind it at all because Steph Curry is, only 9.4K, 9.7K for Durant. I don't know how you don't play both of them. Wrong link in Slack. Shoot. Thank you for that, though. Mike Scott isn't a bad play on FanDuel. Yeah, so a lot of his minutes have been pretty skewed just because of the foul trouble that Jonah Bolden has been in. Amir Johnson is questionable. Bolden's questionable. Embiid and Marjanovic are both out already. Mike Scott's been getting these 30-plus minutes, but it's pretty matchup dependent. And like I said, the foul trouble of Bolden. I expect Amir Johnson to miss this game, and I think that Bolden will play. So in this matchup against Nikola Vucevic, I expect Bolden to play. Barring foul trouble, I think he plays upwards of 28, 30 minutes, and he's a far superior fantasy contributor to Mike Scott over the course of the year. Bolden averaging 1.04 fantasy points per minute compared to Mike Scott's 0.82 fantasy points per minute. And, yeah, if he avoids foul trouble, he's going to play more minutes. He's a way better fantasy contributor than Scott, and I think the chalk will be on Scott just because they don't look – if they're not looking past the just pure box scores and looking at those minutes, they're not going to realize that if Bolden's starting at center and there's no Amir Johnson, Bolden is a far superior play. Avery Bradley on DK, yeah, I like Bradley quite a bit. Bolden favorite value at the moment? No, it's probably Avery Bradley. Bolden, someone you can be comfortable putting in your cash games tonight, Taylor? Yeah, okay. So the foul trouble really is a concern, especially against a guy like Nikola Vucevic. But I'll take my chances there if Amir Johnson is out. If Amir Johnson's not out, I think they kind of split those minutes. But if Amir Johnson's out and Bolden's in, obviously, then I feel comfortable in cash games. Wiggins, yeah, I like Wiggins quite a bit tonight. One of my favorite cash plays, just because he's 5.7K, simply too cheap. I tend to hate guys like this that are so scoring dependent, but he's absolutely torched the Thunder in the previous 2 meetings this year. He's averaged 54.3 DraftKings points, played 40 minutes in both of those games. One of the games Teague was out. Okay, so both of those games, Derrick Rose was out, and one of them, Teague and Rose were out. So take that for what you will. But I think both of those guys are kind of limited right now, especially Derrick Rose. And Wiggins should still play 38-plus minutes with upside of more, assuming the game stays relatively close. I like Andrew Wiggins quite a bit. 5.7K is just way too cheap in this matchup. Because, I was checking, because after I made that video, I refreshed the Vegas totals, and it looked like, okay, so yeah, they've risen even more. This game total has risen from 234 to 236.5, and actually the spread has gotten a lot closer. It's currently only 1 in favor of the Timberwolves. So this is just easily my favorite game, and I want to target it pretty heavily. And now both of those teams are the highest projected team totals on the slate. With Klay Thompson out, the Warriors dropped to 117.5, Thunder at 117.75, and the Wolves at 118.75. So just really, those are the teams I'm really trying to target. I think you can pretty easily just target these three teams: the Warriors, Thunder, and the Wolves. I think there's enough value, and you can get these studs on these teams. Any 3K punts or value plays? Actual 3K player? No, probably not. I don't mind Iguodala tonight. I think a lot of people are going to go to Damian Lee and Alfonso McKinney. Whoever grabs that spot start tonight. Actually, McKinney might be out. We saw he got injured last game. And Damian Lee ended up playing quite a bit of minutes. And Iguodala played 25 minutes. So if Iguodala is going to be under-owned compared to those guys, because they're not going to give Iguodala the start. They're going to give probably Damian Lee or McKinney it. So I hope that boosts their own percentage, and then we get Iguodala at a lot lower ownership than he should be. He's over the last couple of years, he's just been a far superior fantasy player compared to those two. And even this year, he averages a bit more fantasy points per minute than them, and his minutes are much, much more secure. Do you like Vucevic tonight? Seems like a great play, especially with the beat out. Who's going to guard him? Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I assume that Jonah Bolden plays, and he's not the best defender. Vucevic obviously can have his way against him. The only reason I don't like Vucevic nearly as much as I did earlier in the day is because Klay Thompson is out, and I like Kevin Durant and Curry more. But in GPPs, that's only going to lower the ownership of Vucevic, who I think would be an amazing GPP play. I don't think Paul George plays, and I do think Jimmy plays. Do you like Tobias Harris on FanDuel? I like him more on DraftKings, but I don't mind him on FanDuel. He's not a bad play at all. Thoughts on Kawhi tonight? I just never play Kawhi, ever. Just never. He's too scoring dependent when everyone's healthy. He just really doesn't do anything else, because there's been numerous times this year where he scored 30, 40 points, and I've only put up 40, 50 fantasy points in those games. And he just doesn't really offer that upside that I want for that price. I'd much rather, in that same price range, I'd much rather go to guys like Curry or Durant or even Vucevic. They just have immense upside compared to him. Not currently on Jonas Valanciunas right now. His minutes really, I knew it was too good to be true that they were going to play him 30 minutes a game. It was nice while it lasted, and we took advantage of it. But he was chalky nonetheless. I knew he played 32 minutes last game, but he just really isn't performing quite the same as you would think. Doncic really disappointed last night. Yeah, that was rough, man. I mean, he got injured, and then he just really didn't look right when he came back in. It is what it is. At least he was fairly high owned on DraftKings at like 31%, and then everyone bit the dust with like Len and the other place. So I know a lot of members came out with W's in it, regardless of having Doncic. Does Cousins get a boost without Klay? Yeah, I'll bring up the numbers right now. Yeah, so with Klay Thompson off the court, oops. Yeah, in 80 minutes with Klay Thompson off the court, DeMarcus Cousins averages 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I missed the pivot from Diallo to Crowder. Crowder goes off for 35. Shit made me satisfied, especially after Doncic sucked. Yeah, it was rough, man. Yeah, I don't understand the Anthony Davis news. They ruled him in. There was only one reporter that ruled him in, and it was a guy from Utah ruled him in, and then none of the New Orleans guys ruled him in, or ruled him out, rather. Then they ruled him in shortly after lock. So that kind of screwed us on FanDuel because we had Diallo, which was an amazing play because he was going to play 26, 28 minutes, averaging well over a fantasy point per minute. Was in a really, really good spot in terms of opportunity, and especially price on DraftKings. So, yeah, that sucks. But make sure to turn on our notifications on Locks DFS on Twitter if you want to get those that information when we change things to the cheat sheet and stuff. It's too much value on DK to force and stud stack. FanDuel much more challenging in my opinion. Really, I don't know. On FanDuel, you can just punt and get away with it because of that drop score, and that kind of ruins things for me. That's why I like DraftKings a lot more. I don't really like that rule for FanDuel. Who are your top 5 players on FanDuel? If Gasol starts, is he a better play than Turner? No, I still prefer Turner there. I think his minutes, I don't know. Their minutes are both about the same. It's crazy that ever since Marc Gasol's come over, that Serge Ibaka's minutes have just taken a hit like that. Favorite power forwards on FanDuel? I don't know. I really like Serge Ibaka for 4.7K. It's just way too cheap. Okay, so Bradley seemed like a wonderful cash play. Now I'm hearing Conley's on track to play. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. is out, but how does Conley and Hughes affect Bradley? It's still cash game lock. Yeah, he's one of the better value plays on this slate. I don't care that Mike Conley was back, and I was expecting him. When I wrote him up, I knew he was going to play just because he was out just due to rest last game. But since joining the Grizzlies in those 9 games without Jaren Jackson, he's averaged 1.02 fantasy points per minute, averaging just over 31 minutes per game. But a lot of those games, it was him just coming in, so he was playing less minutes, or the game blew out, so he got less minutes because of that. But as of recent, he's been playing 36 to 38 minutes, and he's a really good fantasy producer right now. They don't have much going for them offensively, so he kind of takes that role over. So I like Avery Bradley quite a bit tonight. And I don't know why DraftKings keeps dropping its price. He saved me the other night. I didn't go DeLon, went Bradley instead, and he went nuts. Yeah, they both went nuts. Yeah, I talked about that a bit. Kind of silly that Avery Bradley was that low compared to DeLon, right? Smart to play Teague and Wiggins together. They kind of eat into each other, but they're so cheap, I don't think it necessarily matters all that much. I'm kind of concerned about the minutes of Teague. He played 26 minutes last game, missed 2 minutes due to a blowout. But I think after having a couple days rest, I think he's probably fine to play 30 minutes. And so at 5.3K, I think he easily pays off his price tag there. And Wiggins, I think, is one of the best plays on the slate. So I think it's fine. Any value around 4K on DraftKings? Yeah, man. Like Bolden, Mike Scott. Do you like Capella on FanDuel? Yeah, 7.6K. It's a bit cheap or a bit expensive for me right now. He's not really playing those 38, 40 minutes like he was earlier in the season. At least he played 40 against Charlotte. I don't mind that. But I think I would rather pay down 100 and go to Miles Turner or way down to Steven Adams at 6.8K. Steven Adams at 6.8K is one of the better plays on the slate. And that's assuming you're not playing Karl Anthony Towns, who's in an absolute smash spot tonight. You worried PG-13 placement? Yeah, it's somewhat concerning. I feel like there's a chance that he plays. But I hope we get the news. will Avery Bradley keep up this run with Conley coming back? Yeah, I mean Conley was only out that one game, so it doesn't really concern me, and it was only due to rest. He was doing very, very well before that, and his minutes are pretty secure because he doesn't play backup point guard. Conley being out really only affects DeLon Wright in terms of minutes. Avery Bradley's good for his 36, 38 minutes in competitive games regardless. Rank Aminu, Harkless, and Wes Matthews. That's rough. Probably Aminu, Matthews, and Harkless. Paul or Lowry. Yeah, I'll probably take Paul there, but I don't really want either. I don't like Lowry when everyone's healthy, and Paul has been better. I don't mind him. Whereas everyone, I don't think your notification went out, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't go out sometimes. Kind of annoying. You guys can get all your questions answered though. You like McCollum at 6K? No, not really. Not personally. I think there's a lot better plays in that price range. I mean, I guess he's fine in GBPs, but McCollum just really hasn't been the player he was the last couple of years, just because he plays so many of his minutes next to Damian Lillard. You saw in years past that they would stagger the minutes, so he'd get a ton of backup point guard minutes, but that's just not the case anymore, and that's why he hasn't been nearly as good this year. How about Draymond on FanDuel? He is cheap. Yeah, Draymond is really good play this year, or play today. He's having a fantasy point per minute without Klay Thompson on the court and a pretty sizable chunk of minutes. And he should be playing 36, 38 minutes in a competitive game. And yeah, and especially with Klay out, the spread dropped from, I can find it. The spread dropped from 8 to 7, so 7-point game. You can't really predict a blowout right there. Durant or Kawhi? Durant, 100 times out of 100 times versus Kawhi. Value small forward on FanDuel. It's rough. It really just depends on this McKinney news. Is Iguodala and Damian Lillard shooting guards? Durant or Curry? I prefer Curry. Serge Ibaka not getting minutes. You said play him on FanDuel. I only said play him on FanDuel just because his price is way too cheap. 4.7K is way too cheap for him. I don't think he's a bad play, but I wouldn't try to convince anyone. You can go down and play Jonah Bolden or Mike Scott. I like those guys more. I think they have more upside. I think they have an easier route of getting minutes just because I think they're pretty set with playing Marc Gasol 30 minutes a game. And Coach Nurse never plays Ibaka at the 4. You see every game, assuming the game is competitive, Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol split all 48 minutes. So if Gasol keeps playing 30, 32 minutes, that's only leaving 16, 18 minutes for Serge. Favorite 76er without Butler and Embiid. Redick is pretty cheap. Yeah, I would love Redick. Is Butler out? Did I miss this? Oh, yeah, if Butler's out, yeah. But if Butler's out, then I'm really going to be heavy on these 76ers. Then I think Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris are just amazing, amazing plays today. And then JJ Redick would obviously be a solid play as well. Because it would really upgrade the outlook of Ben Simmons just because we see sometimes that Ben Simmons if Jimmy Butler's playing really, really well, they'll just take Butler off the court because if Butler's not handling the ball and Jimmy Butler's instead, then there's no use of Ben Simmons being on the court just because he's an average defender at best and he can't shoot for shit. So if he's not handling the ball, dishing and driving, then there's no use of him being on the court. So if Butler's out, then that's a big boost for Ben Simmons. Then I would really have to consider Curry versus Simmons today, and that would be really close. I heard Redick has like a 30% usage rate when Butler's off the court. Not sure if that counts with Tobias or not, though. Yeah, it probably doesn't just because we have such a little sample size with Tobias on the 76ers. It kind of skews all the numbers. So you just got to take it for what it is. And, I mean, there's games on the belt. You can look over – because when I did a lot of my research today with the 76ers, I just did the last 5 games with Embiid off. And so I think that's they're playing such big minutes like Tobias and Simmons. I think it's a big enough sample size to reasonably expect that outcome to continue to happen. Any love for Kyrie tonight? Did good against Warriors last time. Yeah, he's torched the Warriors before. Same with Al Horford. I don't mind him. It's just another thing where I would rather pay up for Steph Curry right there or pay down for Ben Simmons. He's kind of in the middle of them. I think he's great for GPP. So, I mean, he's fine for cash games too. I guess he's fine. He just hasn't been playing very well the last couple of games. But his minutes in super competitive games they will play him 38, 40 minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Especially now that Clay's out. Here, I was looking at it earlier, but I'll bring it up. The Warriors without Klay Thompson this year. Or, sorry, the 76ers without. So we'll take Boban off. We'll take Boban, Sarge, Covington, Butler, and Embiid. And this is assuming that Butler sits. I'm on the fence on whether I think if he is or not. Andrew Bogut to the Warriors, yeah. I mean, he can just coattail for another championship. Yeah, so there's only 80 minutes. So in 80 minutes with Boban, Sarge, Butler, Embiid, and Covington off the court, Redick has a 26.1% usage rate. So not much time. Oh, whoops. I made a mistake. I was looking at different dates. I'm really on Grant and Schroeder if PG-13 is out. Would it be a mistake to fade Westbrook tonight if PG-13 does sit? No, because I think as long as you're playing like Curry, Durant, or like Karl-Anthony Towns, then I think it's fine to fade Westbrook. I think there might be something wrong with him because he hasn't been driving to the basket. I'm a Thunder fan. I've been watching it a lot, and it's weird that he hasn't been driving. And he's only been averaging 1.36 fantasy points per minute in these 3 games that Paul George has been out. Okay, so yeah, over the course of this year with Boban, Sarge, Butler, Embiid, Covington off the court, in 154 minutes, J.J. Redick has a 28.8% usage rate and has done pretty well in his career versus the Magic. Don't fade Russ. Okay, so you're going to win this game. Yeah, I mean, there's heavy movement on Oklahoma City right now. Horford or Cousins? Oh, Cousins for sure for me. Archie Diacono? No, not with everyone. No, I'm not on Archie very much at all. If Chris Dunn was out or if Levine was out, I wouldn't mind him going in and playing 32 minutes, averaging 0.7 fantasy points per minute. I think he'd be a fine punt on FanDuel. Fine punt on DraftKings as well, I guess. Schroeder or Wiggins stack? Yeah, I would just stack them. I hate choosing. So between those two, I would just rather play both. Mike Scott or Bolden GPP. I mean, if Bolden is healthy, Bolden is like a far superior GPP play to Mike Scott. Markkanen or Cousins? I'll take Cousins. Once played Durant, but Houston and Kawhi. I don't know. I like Durant a lot. Avery Bradley over Wiggins? No. Point per dollar, it's kind of close because I'm pretty high on Avery Bradley, but Wiggins is in a vacuum. He's a much better play. Wiggins at 6.4K on FanDuel is pretty funny, but Dennis Schroeder at 5.6K is even funnier. It's an awful price. Andrew Bogut tonight? Yeah, man. One of my favorite plays. All right, guys. I will be live later today, 30 minutes before lock, to talk about or answer your questions for all the members and stuff. So best of luck tonight. Thank you for joining. And yeah, until next time. Peace.